Hello, it's Molly Reamer with Bridges Grove in 30 Days of Goddess with a flip through video of my May 30 Days of Goddess Daily Practice Prayer Book. And one of the things that I wanted to point out in this video before I get started is how one of the things I love about this practice is how the prayer books grow. And so here's June waiting to be worked on. It is, just a few days into the month. And so that's how skinny it is. And then this is how fat they end up. That's why I can't do a annual prayer book because oh my goodness, it would be 4 feet thick by the time the year was over. So that is a finished one, and that is a one in progress. And to me, I'm sure there's probably people who find that messy or sort of even distressing to have it be so fat. But for me, it is a visual representation of how much magic 1 month can hold and how much wisdom 1 month can hold and how much learning and how many experiences and how many bits of magic and how many new pieces of writing and how much sacredness and everything. It's a visual representation of what that is. And so when I come back to these books, when I come back to this practice, I put my hand on them, I can feel that stored up energy, that stored up magic. And it is replenishing, it's restorative, it's nourishing, it's sustaining. So this one I used my little stickers from our new little sticker sheets. Oh, I have one on the back too. I already did a video at the beginning about the little cards that are tucked in, so I'm not going to necessarily revisit that. In May, I was doing the May refresh class / earth prayer. And so I got the little prayer cards with that I got those done on blue paper at Staples. And so I used them a lot this month. And that was a fun additional layer to me for those. So you'll see those pop back in as we go. Oh, what was that? Oh, we did a compass course at Co-op, and that was the little note from our path that we were following as we navigated through with our little compasses. And I had the mini cards as well from Earth Prayer. Effie Wild. Another Effie. This is actually paper in the back. It looks kind of like a sticker. Oh, I had my new book published and took it to Writers Club. So there's a picture from Writers Club with our books. This was the full moon page for the month. And so this is from Witch's Date Book. This is from the Creative Flame Oracle by my online friend Patricia Ballantyne. And so the card part that came with a digital copy of the cards. And so I've been using them each month this year on the full moon, and then I've been cutting pieces out of the Witch's Date Book and including them on the full moons as well. Got a card from our Mari from our Creative Spirit Circle, one of the moderators, and they sent me some awesome shell stickers. So I put that in the little card, and then we got our new business cards, and so I stuck one of those in there as well. So there's a certain similarity to the pages this month. And actually, not really. Sometimes I say that about there being similarity, and really there's a lot going on in the pages, and I'm surprised sometimes by how many things. I have so many more things that accumulate over a course of a month than I can even use, and it's kind of amazing to me how many things there are and how different the pages end up. Though you can see there's certain elements. I almost always use the word card. I almost always have my rune. I almost always put something in a pocket. Like there's a pattern. There's a pattern, but the overall look of them really is pretty different a lot of the time, and it's kind of amazing how many things there are that can be done in the same. If there weren't so many things that could be done, I don't know that I'd still be doing this, but there's so many things that can be done that it's always different and always surprising. So I got oh my goodness, I'm forgetting her name. Leslie from the Pistols. Leslie, I can't think of her last name all of a sudden. I will link to it in the description. But I just signed up for her newsletter, and she sends out these gratitude cards, and they are just so much fun. This one I colored in the car when we were waiting to leave on our trip while my son was taking his final exam. And this was one of the snapshot cards from May, so I'd use that as a big pocket and tucked my Oracle card. I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep the Oracle cards from Leslie as a set, so most of the ones I colored I didn't glue in, I stuck in pockets, but I'm just going to leave them in the book where they, and then at this point I started doing the Earth Prayer card and a prayer card from the back each day and making kind of a little book out of it. That's probably why my book turned out so fat. So again, another card from Leslie, and then we were traveling, so luckily with the Wisconsin Dells, and luckily I had my little Kodak Step printer with me, so I was able to print something out from every day, which that's a really useful tool for the traveling art journal, is that you can put in the things that you did that day. And so we went to Devil's Lake State Park and climbed this trail, and so then I was able to put that in kind of immediately. And then there's a map from it in the back from the state park. And so when we're traveling, my pages primarily relate to what we were doing, and rather than to the word of the day. This day we went on a boat tour of the Upper Dells, and so I used and we saw the dog jump across. So this is the brochure from the boat tour, but then we were actually there. So there's us underneath that I printed on our little printer. And then I so this is the brochure picture of being here, and then there's the picture of actually me in the place that's shown in the brochure. So that was kind of I enjoyed doing that little fold out like that combo of, promotional material plus what we actually did. So there's a picture of the boat underneath that I glued the word over, but then I put a picture of us there instead. So that's fun. We checked out. This was Mother's Day. I didn't end up finishing the card. We wandered around this day and ended up finding this tiny little zoo it was in the rain, and the tiny little zoo was actually desert, and like nobody was there. There was nobody working. There was nobody else there. Looked like the gate looked like it would be locked, but it wasn't locked. So we went in, and there was wolves and prairie dogs and otter and bears and a bald eagle with one wing and a snowy owl with one eye. And we walked around, and it was really felt like the beginning of some kind of fantasy tale. This was the map from where we had stayed. And the room key pocket with checkout reminders that I then turned into a little card. I did glue this card down after coloring it. This is one of the only pages I didn't do the daily graphic on. But so then there's pictures. We went to Roche Gris State Park where we saw the petroglyphs, and so I stuck that in. Went on the rotating water slide, the Medusa slide wheel at Odyssey Dells, and that was actually extremely fun. That was one of the funnest things we did on the trip. I am grateful for my knees, and I am, because do not take for granted the fact that I can climb up places and go on hikes and walks and do kind of endurance. I'm not a very I don't do rock climbing or anything, but I'm a really good endurance. Mark and I are both very good endurance walkers. We can go for a long, long time, which means we can cover a lot of ground and see a lot of interesting stuff. Went to this mac and cheese shop. Yum, yum, so good. And then we cut off our wristbands on the way home. That's the other room key card. And then I put a map in the background because we were driving home. This is one of the pages that I did in the car. Oh, and that's a pocket with the other brochures and stuff in it. I didn't remember what that was. So lots of pockets going on. Oh, it was my parents' 70th birthday, and so my sister had made little charcuterie cups, and they had little hearts in them, so I kept those and stuck in my pocket, and some stuff had a little sword, so I stuck that in my pocket too. And we did these paintings that didn't turn out very great, and so I just went ahead and stuck in my book. We got pictures taken, so there's my parents on their 70th birthdays. And we got professional pictures taken. They're not ready yet, but that was a snap that the photographer took of her camera when she was taking pictures, so she sent it to me, of my parents, my adorable parents, 70. And that's a printout of one of the cards that Elena drew for them. Those are from Effie Wild as well, and so is the card that's in the pocket. So... as this month went on, I ended up signed up for the library program, so I got a bookmark from them and put that in. As this month went on, my practice has changed. I think it's important to remember that our practices change. They do not have to be stagnant. They can change. And it's really important to me that I keep my promise to myself. And I think it's important to pay attention to how keeping our promise to ourselves makes us feel afterward. And so what I've noticed this month is there was a lot of times where I've ended up putting off. I always keep my morning practice, but I've ended up having to push back or put off the art part until the late evening. And in the late evening, I don't feel that creative, and so I'll notice myself kind of dragging a little bit and be like, I gotta do it. And then I think about, and I've had people, ask that question, like, can't your practice be flexible enough that you don't do it? And it's like, yes, but it's all about it, and that's true. There's no right way, there's no rule, but there is a real power in keeping your promise to yourself. And I know, so after I go ahead, so I don't necessarily feel the inclination or like the urge, I feel kind of tired and a little blah, but after I do the page, I feel so good and I feel so happy and I feel satisfied. And that's how I know it is right to keep going. If I didn't feel good about it, or if I felt like, ho hum, what a bore, or if I was feeling like trapped or forced by my own practice, that would be my sign to change. But I feel so happy after I'm done that I know that keeping of my promise is still something that's important to me. I encourage people to pay attention to how things feel in their bodies. So I feel good when I keep up with my prayer book and I keep my practice. We're up to 850 plus days, and I'm not like about to quit now. But if it wasn't feeling good to me anymore, or if I was feeling bound or trapped by it, excuse me, I would change, because this practice is not about making a box for yourself or closing yourself in. It's about liberating yourself and about choosing to inhabit the center of your own life. That's what it's about. And so I pay attention to how I feel after, and how I feel after is, wow, it feels so good to keep my promise to myself. It feels so good to make space for this, to make space for this, to make space for myself, to make space for the sacred. It feels so good. My bookmarks are still in here. They're going to get transferred over to my June book. I'm actually going to take them out right now and transfer them over. And then it's over. And sometimes I'll have leftover materials that I'll go ahead and fill up those other pages with, or I'll color leftover things, etc. This time I didn't. That's okay. Remember, this practice is flexible. There is not a right way or a wrong way, and there aren't any rules. There's what helps support and nourish you. So I have a few little cards left, but not very many. I intentionally used a prayer card almost every day of the book. You saw those forming my little fold-outs most days. There's two. There's the earth prayer one, and then there's the one from the back of the book. And so I decided I wanted to use those more this month. And I had only a few left over, so I will still cut those out and move them over into my next book. I had enough runes left because there's 41 woman runes, and so I had it, and I repeat them all in each book, so you have them to use. So I had enough left accumulated over several months of practice that I used those in my May book, and so my sheet of runes is still left. And that's from Kelly Lincoln of Dancing Goddesses. That's from Effie. This is my daughter printed that out for me from the internet. And that's from Poetic Goddess. And then there's certain things. So some of these things are things I just didn't use in my May book and that I'll transfer over. And then some of these are things that go to every prayer book with me. There's some core materials in this envelope that I want to have with me in every prayer book, so that will get shifted out. And then I'll go through this pocket and see what I have left that wants to shift out and come with me into June, and what wants to stay here. So then I will be fully finished with May. And so thank you so much for watching, and remember, you can go to 30daysofgoddess.com for prompts, prayers, and practices that will help support you on a goddess-centered path, as well as help you to create space for the sacred and for yourself in your very own life. Thank you so much for being here. Bye-bye.